Good morning, everybody. Welcome to January 2024. It's been a minute since I've jumped on my computer and wanted to record something. Just life has been extraordinarily challenging, and I just feel like it's time to get in front of the camera again. And then I'll take a little break. Next month, I'm having hip replacement, and you may have remembered back in November, I had a freak incident and tore a ligament in my hands. And I finally had that repaired at the end of the year, December 28th. And it's been a tough recovery, way tougher than I thought. So that and just getting back to work and kind of shifting gears a little bit in my personal intention for the year. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between a resolution and an intention and why intentions are so powerful. So I'm kind of looking at my own life, and for the last 25 years, I've always chosen an intention. I have opted to do that rather than a resolution. Resolutions are typically outcome based, goal based, and most of the time we fail at them. And maybe that's something as simple as I'm going to read, 10 books a month, or I'm going to lose 20 pounds, or I'm going to exercise more, or I'm going to whatever. It's usually related to an outcome. And if we achieve the outcome, then what? So I've really decided a decade plus ago that I wanted to look at the part of me that I just needed to polish up a little bit, just wanted to focus on a little bit. And so I've taken this practice. Every year it gets a little bit layered deeper and deeper. And so what I typically do is I find out, what do I want to feel this year? Where do I want to grow? How do I want to be? And then I use a thesaurus to put in some words that are just popping into my brain. And pretty soon those words get kind of distilled down to the word. And I've done this practice for so long that I look so forward to it come January, that I get to start something new. And it's not related to an outcome or a goal. I'm not looking to do a thing. I want to be differently. I want to take and polish off some of the stuff that's accumulated in my life, as all of us have. I believe we're born as love, and then we have things that happen to us and maybe for us that we stick. And our job as humans is to be better today than we were yesterday. And I don't want to be sitting in my studio at the end of this year the same as I was at the end of 2023. I want to continue to evolve as a human being. So the word that I have been choosing, the words I've been choosing for the last 10, 15 years have been very action based. They've been pretty crazy. Like one year I chose the word bold, and I wanted to just show up in life bold. I bought a yellow Jeep, a bright yellow Jeep that year. Like I literally stepped into being bold. My business took off. It was amazing. I've chosen words like limitless, flourish, or bloom. Like I wanted this volume of growth, and it happened. My life is amazing. It's limitless in many ways. It's bold in many ways. I have flourished in countless ways. And then I wanted to kind of ease back a little bit the last few years. So I picked some words like deliberate. I wanted to be very intentional with my thoughts, my words, my actions. So I slowed down a little bit, put the brakes on my push. And then last year, as you remember, I wanted to practice vulnerability. I wanted to ease into being a little softer, a little scarier for me, instead of so forceful and going at life a million miles an hour. And so as I finished up 2023 and I looked at vulnerability, and I wrote a blog post on how it showed up in my life and how I did with being vulnerable, I did overall pretty good. There was times that I was really vulnerable, and there's still a few things that I need to achieve in the vulnerability realm that I will, but I have to do it when it feels right for me, and not when somebody tells me to do it, because that's just resistance I have. I'm a Capricorn. Okay. So this year I chose the word equanimity. People say, what's equanimity? Equanimity is written about in a lot of different traditions. It's spoken about in the Bible quite a bit. It's spoken about in Buddhist texts, yoga texts. But basically, how I defined it by using a dictionary and thinking about equanimity is the balance between effort and ease. It is being faced with any situation in life and being steady and unwavering, being equitable, even. I do this all day long. I've been teaching this all month long in every house I go into. So I think of that scale with the two little plates on each end. And my current life is about like this, right? I have a ton of effort and very little ease. A ton of effort and very little ease. Now, that's not to say I want to lose my effort because I love what I do. I love working hard. I love productivity. I love being accountable to myself. I love the push. I love the drive. I love the success. But I want to bring more ease into my life. And so what that looks like in action is I'm going to start to say no to things that don't feed me. I'm going to make sure that I spend quality time doing things that nourish me. Okay. See where I'm going? It's like it's rising. This isn't going down. I'm just bringing ease a little closer to effort. And so, as I was sharing this with a woman who lives in assisted living, beautiful woman, probably 80s, and she cautioned me when I'm doing my scale. She's cautioned me like, don't lose your edge. Don't lose your edge because in a very short time, she snaps, you're going to be sitting on a sofa like me. In a very short time, you may be forced into ease and not have any effort and not have any opportunities. And it really hit me like, I don't want that. I want to keep my effort, but I want to bring my ease up. So that's where I'm going with equanimity. I'm making choices to have quality over quantity related to my movement, making sure I get quality workouts in instead of having to walk a million miles a day. I'm looking at quality interactions with people versus saying yes to everything and then being drained at the end of the day. So I'm being very choosy with what I'm saying yes to. And then I'm finding myself curling up in my office for a little downtime every day. That might be doing a jigsaw puzzle on my iPad. It might be reading. It might be meditating. It's just a little bit more ease after a hard day. And so far, so good. So that's kind of where we're at. And this is what I've been teaching. And I think it's so applicable to intentions. I've said many, many years that I feel like an intention or a word of the year is a thread that gets woven into your tapestry. Still believe that. At the end of our life, we will have this gorgeous tapestry, and each woven thread represents experiences. I think it's beautiful. But I found working with some of my students who have brain injuries, not really connecting to the tapestry. I sort of saw glaze go over. I'm like, I got this. I figured it out. And this means a lot to me. When we choose a word and we publicly say, I want to work on being patient this year. I want to work on being more grateful. I think I need to be more positive. I'd like to improve my health. Those are all ways of being that have no outcome. It's just turning the dial of who we are slightly. Okay. When we publicly announce, this is what I'm working on, we're striking a match. If we do nothing to that match, the flame will just simply burn down. So what? We said it and we did no action. Okay. If we strike a match, I intend to have equanimity in my life, balance, ease, and effort. Then I have to do something on a daily basis to put something on that flame. I have to add a log, add some tinder, add some paper. I have to continually keep that fire going. Otherwise, it's just going to fizzle out. And then the intention means nothing. So, we're still in January, it's plenty of time to choose your word. And as you find your word, imagine striking the match. If you don't do anything, it's just going to burn out. But now you've got it. And now you do something on a daily basis. And maybe you're looking at tolerance or patience. So you have opportunities all day long to pause and say, okay, what can I add to patience? Do I need Do I need to take a break? Do I need to breathe? Do I need to evaluate my reaction to this? What is it? Okay. And so our thoughts, our choices, and our words are the logs in the tinder that go on that match. And as you go throughout the year, there'll be times where your flame gets a little low. We forget about it. We go on vacation. We have a crisis. But you can always reactivate that fire through thoughts, words, and actions. Okay. So as we come into yoga practice in studio, online, in my classes, and I'm in the community, I've shifted gears just as I've sort of shifted gears at the beginning of this year. I've taken a practice from being very active and flowy and connected to breath, which is beautiful, to a different style of yoga that complements winter. It complements an inward look, complements our personal journey to be a better person. And that is yin yoga. And yin is the opposite of action. We have two energies in our bodies. We have masculine and feminine energy, regardless of your gender. And most of our day to day is very masculine energy. It's action. It's doing things, whether it's cleaning your home, cooking, taking care of somebody, working, talking, working out, action, action, action. And yin is more of the receptive energy, the feminine energy. It's cooler, it's calmer. It helps our parasympathetic nervous system kind of rest and restore. And if we are constantly in action, constantly giving and doing, and very little receiving, then we're going to be off balance. So for the first quarter of this year, I'm choosing to theme my classes this year instead of monthly themes that I've done for 5 years. We all know them. I'm shifting it to quarterly themes. And right now we're sort of in the winter season. We are in the winter season in North America. And so the practice is going to mimic kind of nature. We're going to be stiller, quieter, calmer, inward, much like the trees and the grasses and the weeds and the flowers are taking a pause to rest, to restore. So will we. And as we edge towards spring, there'll start to be some changes to our yoga practice that also are in line with nature. So the first quarter is really based on this idea where we are stiller, quieter, an inward focus. In yoga, we call that svadhyaya. So January is where we're really looking at creating space in our mind and our heart and in our body for that intention, or in yoga, we call it sankalpa. And then February, we're going to refine that. We're going to, now that we know our intention, we know our word, we're comfortable with it, we have figured out what needs to happen in action, thoughts, and words, then we refine it and we study ourselves as to why is this uncomfortable? Why is this different? Why is this hard? March, we're going to kind of do some housekeeping. In yoga, we call it saucha, which is purity. We're going to look at the thoughts that come in and out that are toxic, that aren't in line with our intention. And then in April, I want to take us to a place before growth, to contentment, santosha, where we have leaned into the intention, we've leaned into a different way of being. We're okay with it. We're learning like, effort and ease is okay. Being patient is okay. Being calm is okay. Being positive is hopeful. We're content. And then we're going to slide into some different themes as we go through the spring and summer months, and then lean back into fall and winter. So let's talk about yin just for a moment. Different than a vinyasa flow or even a gentle hatha practice, yin is an invitation to go very much inward. It's not restorative yoga. There's a big difference between yin and restorative. Yin, we do use some props like the bolsters, blocks, blankets to help our bodies find the shape, but it's not easy by any means. Yin, in fact, is incredibly challenging because yin is asking us to stay in the shape for quite some time. And what that does physically is our connective tissue is much like a mesh. It doesn't stretch like a muscle. But when we stick with a pose that's designed for a target area that we're looking at, it actually helps to create space in that connective tissue so that we have better flexibility, but better mobility, spaciousness. Okay. So in Yin, there's a target area typically for each posture. In an hour practice, you might come into 5 or 6 postures. That's it. Very rarely are you standing up. We learn, which I think is powerful on the yoga mat in a Yin class, to exit with care. And if you are a yoga practitioner, you know that, like, coming in from warrior 2, reverse warrior, warrior 2, side angle, there's no exiting with care. We're connected with our breath, and that's okay too. But in Yin, you leave the pose with care. And how amazing is that when we think about our life of yoga outside of a yoga mat or a yoga chair, that we are exiting things with care. We are completing a task with care before we jump into the next one. Might be something to think about. And then we look for the edge in Yin. We find the edge. We linger with the edge. We get familiar and comfortable with the edge, and we stay. Most of the time in life, when we hit the edge, we back off because it's uncomfortable. And Yin teaches us to lean into the edge, to get comfortable in the edge, and then to exit with care. So in a Yin practice, there is an opportunity where in each pose, we look for comfort and ease. We look to refine it, making small adjustments. We look for that target area. Maybe it's the hamstring, maybe it's the low back, maybe it's the hip. We look for releasing stuff in us, tension in the jaw, frowny face, fingers that are clenched. We release and let go. We stick around a while and explore what's going on in our mind, our body. And then we play a little bit with that edge. Okay, so that's Yin. Taught a practice in studio this week. It was heavenly, delicious, wonderful. Parasympathetic nervous system is ignited when we practice Yin. And so our chaos collectively out in the world, and collectively meaning what's going on politically, what's going on regionally, what's going on globally, what's going on in the environment, all of that plays into the energy of action, driving, shopping, anything that's movement is all yang. And then where in your life do you have a lot of Yin in your life? For me, I don't. And so, not losing this, I'm going to bring my Yin up a little bit. I'm going to boost it up a little bit. And so, something to think about in your life: how attached do you get to the collective chaos? Are you a person that gets involved in all of the happenings of the world? It's okay if you do, as long as you are balancing that with self inward calm stuff, because otherwise you're going to be off the rails. So I just want to show you a couple of my favorite chair Yin, because not everybody wants to be on the floor or can be on the floor, and I think a chair is super applicable to anybody. And as we come into February, there'll be a lot more of yoga teachings from this space, where there's a lot of Dharma talk. There's a lot of stuff that's coming in that might resonate, but there may not be a lot of physical practice. Now, I will tell you, yesterday, I was in a home up in Arvada where 8 men live. They all have traumatic brain injuries, and they all gather around this leather furniture. I sit on the coffee table so I can spin around and make contact with each of them. And it was a 45-minute yoga session. We didn't move our bodies one time. Now, somebody who doesn't understand the full context of yoga may say, you didn't do yoga. All 8 of us, 8 students and me, all agreed that at the end of this 45-minute session, there was so much connection, so much unity, so much union, so much peace and calm and goodness that there was no need for that one tiny bit of yoga called asana or posture. We covered all the other stuff. And to me, that is what's so important to remember, that yoga is not exercise. It's not something that you do. Yoga is a way of being. It's a practice. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset. And the bicycle wheel of yoga has 8 spokes. Only one of them has to do with this. The other 7 have to do with connection, truth, unity, how we show up in the world. So my class yesterday was one of the best classes that I have shared and received in a long time. And these men range from 30s to 80, all different walks of life, all different life experiences, all different traumatic brain injuries. And we all came together in union, which is the definition of yoga. So we got to get out of this Western culture that yoga is exercise and go back to its roots. And yin is a perfect chance to do that, because there's not a lot of, I need to look right and wrong and good in this yoga practice. So let's play a little bit with yin. I just want to take you through a couple postures of yin that are accessible in a chair. Okay. So I'm going to move my camera just a little bit so that you can see what's going to happen. I'm going to scoot back and I'm going to move my camera. We're going to target area. Remember, yin really enjoys that. So we're going to target some of the low back area in this first posture. So I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to sweep it over my left like I have a nice little skirt on. Okay, so it's super tight package. You might even take your right foot and hook it around your left, but it's certainly not necessary. There's some squeezing that's going on. Okay, and so my spine is nice and tall. My hands are soft, palm face up. This is called shoelace. So on the floor, you would be sitting with your sitting bones on the floor and simply crossing your legs in a tight package. Okay, so this is both applicable for on the floor or in a chair. And we're going to change this shoestring a little bit. In a yin class, there's a lot of time for stillness. Not going to leave you hanging in a video because it's a little bit different than being in person, but I'm going to get you into shoestring in a modified way in a chair, give you the target areas where you might be feeling this, little guidance, and then we'll come out and we'll do the other side. But if you're practicing this at home, know that staying in this shape is good for 5 to 7 minutes, which doesn't sound like long until you're in it. Okay, so right leg is over left. Now I'm going to take my left leg and I'm going to straighten it out in front, but keep the shoestring over my left leg. Okay, my hands are going to grab the chair. You can also place them on your legs. I'm not going to get too complicated here. Now look down at your left toes. We want to make sure that the toes are coming up towards your face. Now, I'm going to lean forward from my hip crease, and immediately I feel my left hamstring, my left glute. Okay, and as I keep leaning, I'm finding that edge. For some of us, the edge may be here. Perfect. That's your edge. That's your practice. I'm going to keep traveling my hands down just a little bit. Ooh, I found the edge right there on my left glute, through my left hamstring, behind my left knee. And now I'm going to stay and I'm going to linger. I'm going to refine it. So to me, refining it is my left leg keeps wanting to go to the right. So I'm going to come out for a second, straighten that left leg in front of me, and then dive right back in, finding that target area I'm looking for behind the knee, hamstring, glute, into my left side lower back. Then I close my eyes. I don't change the breath at all. I'm not pushing the breath. I'm not forcing it. I'm going to linger here. I'm going to melt into it. I'm going to notice the space in my jaw, if I'm clenching, if my fingers are grasping my leg or the chair, or my toes of my right foot crunched and curled. Can I soften them? And then I'm going to show you how to exit with care. We'll slowly begin to rise, like honey getting poured from a bottle. There's not a lot of rush, okay? And once my body is upright, I'm going to bend my left leg, come back to the original shape, pause for a minute, and then uncross, okay? Exiting with care. Between each shape, we sit. Okay, so I often tell people that much of our right side of our life, our yang energy, is a vessel of water with sand getting poured in and somebody stirring the sand. And that vessel becomes super muddy, right? We can't see anything through the vessel. But when we put the vessel down and we allow stillness and we don't stir the sand anymore, all of a sudden that sand starts to come all the way down to the bottom of the vessel. And lo and behold, there is amazing clarity. And that's what we look for in yin. Let's try the other side. So take your left leg, hook it up and over, create that tight package. Both sitting bones are on the chair. If you're on the floor, both butt bones are down there. And then we're going to take a big breath, hinge from the hip crease, and then drape. Okay, so each side's going to be different. Notice with the bent leg, we don't feel that sensation. So here's where I refined this side to be very different than the first. I'm not feeling much here. So I'm going to come up. I'm going to straighten my right leg into shoestring. This is that different version of it. I won't say it's harder or better. And now I'm going to hinge from the hip crease. There's my edge. It's not very far. Okay, and so the work of the mind, body, spirit connection is to not compare to the other side, to not say something's wrong, my right side is bad, but to find the edge, refine it a little bit. I'm going to drop my shoulders. And then I'm going to linger here. I'm going to linger. And now this is a very shortened version of a linger, but you would stay 5 to 7 minutes in it. Don't get caught up on the time. Don't set a timer. This is not about achieving anything. It's learning to put the vessel down. Ooh, exit with care. Exit with care. Come on up slow. Slide the bottom leg in. Come back to the first shape of shoestring. And then uncross. Okay. Pretty magnificent, right? To have this exit with care. Okay, so I'm going to come back up. We're going to do one for the upper body. Again, pose in a chair for the upper body, which is nice too. Okay. So this one's going to be targeting the side body. I'm going to hook my hands together as best I can. You might interlace those fingers. I'm just going to, I don't know, hook my thumbs together. I'm just going to attach my hands in some way. Actually, I like this. I like holding on to my right thumb. There's my thing. I'm going to reach my arms up to the sky and then soften those shoulders. So here is where we get a little imbalance. We're crunching and pushing and pulling and that's not yin. Okay, we're going to soften. And then I'm going to reach over to the right. My hands are still attached. My head is being cradled in my arms. Target area becomes left armpit, left ribs down over my left hip crest. And here I am. Now, the tissue between the ribs is some of that connective tissue we talk about in yin. We're not stretching it. We're just creating some space there. So this may be challenging to stay in for 3 to 5 minutes, 5 to 7. So we find the edge, close our eyes, refine it a bit. I'm going to roll my left shoulder back. I'm going to soften the space in my jaw, smooth out the forehead. And to exit with care, I'm going to slowly come up. super slow, super slow, super slow. Lower my hands, pause. Everything's slow, like pouring honey. It's so good. It is the absolute counter to the craziness of life. Hook your hands together, reach up. Let's try the left side. See if you can find that edge, that target area of the right ribs. I'm feeling, here's the ribs, and we have this tissue between. It gets, okay, head's cradled between the biceps. Right hip wants to lift off the chair. Don't let it. Press it down. But then as we get into the shape, refine it by softening something. Your jaw typically, or a breath becomes short and shallow. Refine the breath. Refine it. Everything is about refining. Inhale to rise. Exit with care. Exit with care. Ooh. And slowly come on down. That's just a sampling of yin. Okay. I'm hoping to be able to carve out time to record a yin session between now and February 5th. That's my intent, so that we have a full practice to enjoy for a couple weeks into February. And then towards the end of February, depending on how I feel, I'll pop on and give you an update. I've been studying kind of some yoga stuff for hip replacement, the do's and don'ts. So I feel like it's an opportunity to educate others, to just bring awareness. So I'm all for that. So as I go through my hip replacement journey, I would love to share that with you, kind of ways that I'm coping with not being as active, coping with pain, coping with isolation, coping with the changes in my day-to-day. So I'd love to share that with you, because I feel that's part of why we're in each other's lives in many ways, is just to connect. So there's our yin practice and our kind of beginning of the year. I've had several requests for a beginning of the year kind of Dharma talk, because I didn't have my session in my studio that I was going to live stream and record, because my hand surgery was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. And I just couldn't do it. And I have to learn to say yes to me and no to things that I know are not going to help me create the best experience for me. So enjoy your day. And I'd love to know what your word is. I'd love to have that match be struck for you, and how I can then support you, hand you a log here and there. I think it's so important. And when we publicly say, you know what, I need to work on this, I'm going to work on being patient, or I'm going to work on being healthy, that gives an opportunity not just to have somebody hold your feet to the fire and hold you accountable, but to celebrate you. And so when you see me having more ease in my life and being a little bit more balanced and practicing equanimity, I need you to celebrate that with me and to encourage me. If you notice that, man, she's back at it, I need your accountability. That to me is what makes this union work so well. So I would love to support and celebrate you on your 2024 journey to becoming better than you were in 2023. And nothing was wrong with you in 2023. I just feel so strongly that I don't want to be sitting at the end of my life, for sure, but the end of this year the same as I was last year. I want to evolve a little bit and be a better person. And that's requiring a little bit more equanimity. So have a beautiful day, and thanks for hanging out and listening. And if you have questions, feedback, comments, say hey to me, shoot me back a message, shoot me a text. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get updates as I pop in and out throughout the month of February with some updates. It's a great space to kind of give updates, what's going on, do a little Dharma talk. I'm reading some fabulous books on Yin. I'd love to share that with you. in this winter season of self-study, svadhyaya. And so stay connected here. You can also text me or message me, of course, and I look forward to seeing you soon in whatever space that looks like. And I appreciate your support. It's been a wild ride with this hand, and I appreciate your patience and your support and your check-ins on me. And I'm going to need it. I'm also going to need coffee delivered to me if you're local. That's my biggest fear. It's like, how am I going to get my Americanos every day? All right. Take care. I'll see you soon.